I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my shirt, so sexy it hurts.
Welcome, lovely viewers, to another exciting episode of Captured by Women. And we'd like to say thank you to our proud sponsors, Tinated Herbal Limited, producers of Tinated Turmeric Mixture and Venecare, also Grand Rice Food Company Limited, producers of Leap Tomato Paste. I'm Nanama, and I'm in here with Priscilla, Avana, and Susan. It does promise to be an exciting show. First stop on the spin, we're discussing the increasing trend of mob injustice, particularly related to the Kumasi issue. We'll also touch briefly on the allegation against the Minister of Education as having been purported to say that he will sack headmasters who record a failure rate of 90% or more. Then on Big Bang 1 and 2, we'll take a brief look at the State of Nations address presented by the President. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
Welcome back, lovely viewers. And so we're looking at the issue of mob injustice, a case of a woman who has been beaten in Kumasi for having stolen some 1,000 Ghana cedi, and what has actually happened, people have taken the law into their own hands and they have dehumanized her. Ladies, your take?
Well, I mean, it's a very, well, I can't even condemn it beyond, I mean, I can't condemn it enough. It's just not right. And to think that this was meted out against a woman, I'm not saying it would be right if it was done against a man. It's just not right, you know, regardless of who it's meted out to. And it turns out that she wasn't the one who, you know, took the money.
Yeah, but just because of a language barrier.
Exactly. So, I mean, this goes to show that, you know, you don't need to do such
we
rash...
can't take the law in our
exactly,
own
such
hands.
rash things. I mean, you need to... If you think somebody has done a wrong, you know what to do. Report to the police, and then the law will take its course. I mean, this is a very unfortunate incident, and I mean, we wish the lady all the best. I mean, she's gone through a lot. We just hope she has some, I mean, psychological exactly, because she's been traumatized, definitely. The physical act itself and the fact that it's gone viral, everybody has seen her, it's so undignifying. It's just not right. I mean, I can't condemn it enough, seriously.
And I mean, this is not the first. We've had petty ones being shared on social media where even some two people were in a bar or whatever, and some two men went to hit the ladies for allegedly they know them as lesbians. Whatever the situation, you are not the person to punish, as it were, someone for wrongdoing. That's why the courts are there. That's why the police is there. Report and let the law, you know, be enforced. But it's not up to you. I really think these people, we should catch the perpetrators, arrest them, punish them as the law demands, so that these things can be curbed immediately.
Exactly.
I really think.
Well, violence against women is something to be abhorred, and usually it tends to take a sexual turn, you know, because of the way we are vulnerable in terms of our body, etc. And, you know, you think about it and say, if that had been a man, would they have stopped to pull his manhood? They probably would not have stripped him naked and pulled his out. But the fact that she's a woman and they wanted to disgrace her so badly, they stripped her and you know, sexually abused her. I think that this is a test case for the new Minister for Gender. You know, they should work on it. Let's see how the perpetrators are brought to book. It's unacceptable at any time. Even if she had taken the money, that is not the punishment for stealing.
And I mean,
so
met out that punishment.
I think that there's a certain penchant for people to think that the law is too slow, and so they want to met out the justice immediately, forgetting that they could be in that situation. And I believe they say that it rather let 99 guilty people go than to have one innocent person punished for something they didn't do. And this must be ingrained in us, in the kind of education we give our children at home and in schools, etc., etc., that it is not wrong, it is not right to punish somebody without giving them a fair hearing, and going through the proper process. The wheels of justice may be slow, but they do turn all right.
So people must be well educated on such issues, and taking it from the education that I've just touched on, the education minister is alleged to have said he will sack headmasters who produce failures of certain percentages and all of that. Ladies, your take on the backlash that has come after the statement. Indeed, did he say that? And if he said that, was it out of place? I will start it off. If he said that he is not out of place, because that is what leadership is about. The back stops at the head. If he says the headmasters are the ones who are responsible, he has not said anything out of place. Because you as the headmaster, if you don't have the needed resources, you must shout. If you have students who are underperforming, you must repeat them. You must be putting measures in place as and when your students are passing out year on year to ensure that you curb down the rate of failure. But to sit down and let it happen and to think that someone else should be blamed, why do we have leaders? We seem to want things, and yet we don't assume responsibilities. We like the post, but we don't like the responsibilities that come with it. Even if he said the headmasters are supposed to be sacked, their back stops with the headmaster. If you were shouting and saying, can we get a resource, can we get this, and you were seen as doing something about the situation, I don't think anybody in their right sense would, sack you.
But you raised a very important question. Did he say that?
I don't even
think that raises another issue.
Yeah.
There is another, exactly. So then the kind of reportage we have out there is also, so
too bad.
Exactly.
To the best of my knowledge, what I think he said, or what is reported he said, is that he will ask people, headmasters who fall into this category, to be re-evaluated or, go through some other training, I guess. And that's right, because then it means there's a problem with your management processes, and so he has to ask you.
I would have hoped that he didn't say that in the context in which they've put it, because there are some headmasters who are the class 1 teachers, the class 2 teachers, the class 3 teachers. They teach every single class, and you have a 1-story block where it's divided into 6 classes, and the headmaster is the one who is teaching everybody and anything. So I think that if it's a blanket statement like that, it will be totally unfair. Right. I would hope that, yes, like Amma said, that a re-evaluation of the situation may be required.
Clearly raising issues here with our education and the quality issues in there, and a range of other issues. But we will keep the conversations going, and at the end of the day, we are looking out for the best for the Ghanaian citizens and children in general. We will take a break. When we come back, we go on to do a lot of talking about the State of the Nation's address that was delivered by the President earlier on in the week. We'll take a break. We'll be right back. You're watching Captured by Women.
Welcome back, viewers. So today is all about the State of the Nation's address delivered by the President, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on Tuesday, the 21st of February, 2017. On Big Bang 1, we're taking the NPP's perspective on what they make out of it, specifically on the areas of the economy and health. Discussing the issue with us is Mr. Stephen Amoah. Mr. Stephen Amoah is an investment consultant, CEO of Zentex, which is an investment consultancy. He is also an NPP communicator, and so we're happy to have him here. Hello, sir, and welcome.
Hello, thank you. Happy to be here too.
So not to be biased, but we'll ask you all the same, what's your overall take of the State of the Nation's delivery by the President, coming from your side of the divide?
I'm sure everyone watched the President. In my opinion, he really did well. His preamble was splendid. A lot of people think Nana Addo is not friendly, he's not that, before the election. But he took time to acknowledge the fact that the former president did well. That is His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in managing the transition. He acknowledged former President Rawlings and Kufuor. He said a lot of good things about them. And that alone put him at a level that I think, to me particularly, I was surprised. But then moving beyond that, I mean, what I'm expecting as a finance person, I was particularly happy because for every country all over the world, our core objective or ultimate goal is to have long-term economic growth and stability. And together it comes at the background of labor force, skill component, and then productivity. And labor force, if you're talking about skill component, is acquisition of skills and then formal education. And these things will be well when you have very good health structure. And you realize that Nanado, in the shortest possible time, could put this thing in the perspective that Kenyans, of course, begin to put smile back on their faces. They became hopeful.
Still
So I
on
think
the overall, in terms of content, do you think that he painted a picture of gloom that exposed his partisan?
You're talking about State of the Nation's address. First thing that you need to talk about is where are we as a country. So you need to tell Ghanaians. Then you tell them areas that you would like to fix or amend. And what he said, let's ask ourselves, was it a real case or not? How much are we?
We had a lot of boos when he was mentioning.
Of course, that is, that is. I think that is the. I'll put it as social ritual when it comes to the parliamentarians. They do that, but then are we not owing over 100 billion? 74% of our GDP, and is that not a situation that we should get worried as a country? Because once you owe this amount, it will be very difficult to work on your deficit. In fact, MPP's government is going to have the most Herculean task in our political history managing this country's economy, unless, probably with all respect, one doesn't understand it. Because if a country has such a huge amount of debt, the major workable decision you can take is to increase taxes and reduce spending. That is the surest way.
Sure.
And we have a situation where you are
exactly. So I was coming to we are capitalists. As a capitalist, the finance and economics will understand. We adopt expansionary fiscal policies. Our main aim is to reduce taxes.
Before you get into the main policies, still on the overall and on the economy, where he mentions the debt stock, would it be fair that he mentioned the assets that those debts had been, obtained or had gone into the assets that had gone into?
I am surprised people say that, especially those who are professionals in these areas. Because if he says that it is 74% of our GDP, what does it mean? He never said over 100%. Our goods and services form our GDP. And he's saying that the debt portfolio is 74%. So,
no, clearly,
but indirectly, he made mention of that. But
I'm talking about the assets.
I'm saying, but that forms part. What is asset? It's an integral
part. So that the 26% is for the others.
Exactly. So it's just that our brothers from the other side
would have preferred
probably they are trying to be smart because a lot of people do not have knowledge in those areas. Yes. If I say that, my debt portfolio is 10% of my asset or GDP or my wealth, what does it mean? So he said, and Nanado before he said that,
but we're hoping that he would align it with or appropriate it with the assets that the investment went into, because when you say GDP in general, we know it contains goods and services
yes.
and those.
But the debt component is 74%
of goods. And
do you know why in DC they keep on saying asset? I partly blame our own party people. They realized that NPP had been in power for 8 years, and they had come to power. We had forgotten about our records. Trust me. In terms of asset that actually prevailed at the NPP, you cannot compare. If you like, give a day, let's bring our facts. Visibly, all the trunk roads from Greater Accra through Tema to Tema, Accra to Central Region, Ashanti Region to Brahafo, Ashanti Region to Western, Ashanti Region to Central. Check all the trunk roads, the major trunk roads.
So that would be a comparison of assets or investments,
so I'm saying that
we can
do you know why? When they are asked, why have you contracted this huge amount of debt? Why have you done this to the economy? And they try to play smart. Infrastructure. It's funny. I'm not saying they never did anything, but trust me, what they are saying is interesting. If the infrastructure had been well done to what they are talking about, our debt to GDP wouldn't be 74%. It's very practical.
Exactly. We need to interrogate this
So
further.
practical.
We need to interrogate this further, but we'll need to take a voice clip of the president when he was addressing the issue about the debt. But I would want to go back to this thing about the debt and the fact that you do acknowledge that it's going to be a Herculean task for the NPP to fix, this economic movement.
It doesn't mean we cannot do it.
Yes, you can definitely do it, but then there'll be some teething moments for you. You need to, put a whole lot of things, perhaps sacrifices and all. But here's a case where you're going to quick start the SHS, free SHS, for instance, in September, raising questions about ability to actually sustain that, even in the short term.
You want me to talk to that?
Yes, we'll definitely talk to that.
It is very interesting. But we have matrix of factors to manage. We have priorities in terms of our policies. And all over the world, if you want to achieve what Nana Addo wants us to achieve, Nana Addo's, one of his core objectives is to industrialize Ghana. But trust him, performance is a function of ability, opportunity, and motivation. And before you have the ability to perform, you need to acquire skills and education. So whether you owe or you do not owe, education, it's inevitable. You need it. It's like maybe you owe a huge amount of debt. Your young daughter is dying. What will you do?
Yeah, you do, but on the scale that we are proposing it to...
What is your skill? And surprisingly, people are saying that, it's in the constitution that education is progressively free, and that is why NDC started. So they have started. So progressively we want to complete it. What's wrong with that? Or do you take my point? They say they've started, yes. So progressively, I don't think the progressive statement give us 100 years or 50 years until Jesus Christ comes. So if indeed they have started paying about 34 something, whatever, that they claim, we want to have a comprehensive, total achievement of that. Trust me, most of the monies that went into Ameri, bus branding and co, if we had prioritized our spending policies or in terms of the discretionary spending policy of the government, I'm sure this thing could have done us a great deal of good. So don't let us, we know what we are doing. NPP, we've done it before.
Okay, so...
We took Ghana from HIPIC to middle income status. We're owing $7.24 billion against economy size of $3.94 billion. We're classified as HIPIC. By the time we're leaving, where was Ghana? So you have confidence in us. Only pray with us because we will deliver. We have the men. It's about having core competences and key human resources. And in Africa, all over,
you
can
talk
count on
about
NPP.
delivering, and you talk about being a tight spot. I think from the president's speech, he did indicate that he would have to borrow, if you're going to read between the lines, and when he says that, he has very little to work with, and he doesn't want the economy to collapse. So we are going to borrow more. So
he was talking about improvising the resources that we have. But let me tell you something, all over the world, the richest man in the world's book, even TV3, I'm sure you're rich. Your statement, if you have long-term debt, you have overdraft, it's part of our financial structure, as my brother was saying anyway. Sorry. as everyone appreciates that. But the point is, when you weigh that against your asset, and it's becoming problematic, that is where we begin to entertain fear. And as a country, we need to sit up. It doesn't mean we'll never borrow, but we'll not go and sit down and borrow to create a situation where posterity or generation to come will only have to come and inherit these things. Now they were talking about, look, MPP, we have the most difficult situation in the history of this country. Because if your statutory, I wouldn't say interest rate is from statutory, depends on how everyone understands finance. I think statutory includes interest rate because it's illegal. You understand what I'm saying? But if you talk about all this and your wages and it's about 99, then ask yourself, how do we do all these things? And we have to do them. Because we promise Ghanaians. You can't sit there and allow education to go the way it's going. You can't sit there and say people can't have water. You can't sit there and say that we should stick to this deplorable state of our roots. Our health sector is just dwindling. We can't do that. We also need to balance consolidation of power and then projects. So we have to. It's something we cannot do anything about. It's inevitable. But I want you to start smiling because we will deliver.
No, we will smile. A lot of it is also coming from the 2004 manifesto where we talk about the rural development, the one factory, one district, one factory. I will give you for consistency, but I don't know about whether you'll be able to deliver because we were not able to deliver in 2004, especially, if I were to read the MPP, if we would put it that way. So, if we talk about the government's ongoing rural development. And they said we will have at least 3 rural industries established and operational in each of the 138 districts.
But do you know why this time we deliver?
So you wanted...
Did I tell you why we deliver?
Why will you
We
deliver?
inherited a hippie country. Now, even though they've messed up our economy, we are not hippie. So the timings are different. And look, these are projections. Even you as individual, beginning of the year, the resolutions that you make, things you set up, if you set up objectives or goals, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll be able to achieve all, because we have uncertainty, we have risk. So you can do more. So you can do more or less. It becomes a benchmark. It becomes a target. It helps you. It motivates you to work towards it.
I mean, Stephen, I think really, it's actually.
No, I see you're very passionate about the economy, but I mean, we wanted to know
about performance and the reality, and I want to put confidence in you, ladies.
Very well.
That we will deliver.
The confidence will come from our side when we see him perform.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the MPP square, it's quite credible that you've inherited such an economy, but you still stick to the promises on which you were elected into power. You still make references to the manifesto and all of that, and that's credible. But on the issue of Ghana being HIPIC and you being able to take us out of there and the current situation, how are you able to, make headway in light of the current debt stock you have inherited? Because I don't think debt is your immediate fallback position as it's where today.
When promises are made, there are a few issues or factors you need to consider before you accept or disagree, if I should put it, or agree. First, correctness of the statement, timeliness, feasibility, but that comes is it on the back or at the back of Ashanti? At the back of proving record. You should look at our proving record. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, even when we're HIPIC, even though we are capitalist, we're able to introduce a lot of pro-poor policies, redistribution policies, both in kind and in cash. LEAP, you remember LEAP? Education, you remember? Giving food to the poor child to eat. Some of the children, they eat egg a year. NHIS, when we're passing, our brothers from the other side left parliament. They walked out because they said it wasn't going to be feasible. Even when we're so poor, we could do that. How much more now the situation, even though it's bad, I don't think it's as worse as the year 2000. When we're totally bankrupt as a country.
I think when they come in here, I think the difference is this. Back then, perhaps our debt was with the bilaterals, like with the IMFs, the World Banks, who could give you some leeway. But here, we've gone onto the capital market or the private, where you are owing private individuals who wouldn't give a hoot about the situation. They would come after you for the money.
We had total debt. It was combination. Go and check. It was combination. Domestic and then foreign. Whether it's
but the Eurobond situation started under Kufuor, and the
have,
first one is retiring.
We still have foreign, except that the payment mood and stuff like that probably were different, but we're having both domestic and foreign. But what I'm saying is our situation now is very cumbersome. Maybe one thing I agree with you, because of the HIPIC, we had some leeways, if I should put it. And because now we are in middle income status, lower level, probably some of the benevolent offers or provisions will not get. But what I'm saying is that, yes, as a finance person, we have one of the most difficult situations as a country, whether in this and PP, because the solution to this problem will not really agree to the promises that we make. Practically, we need to do what I said, reducing spending as a government and increasing taxes. And once we do that, we'll be shrinking the economy as well.
Okay, so Ms. Amwa, let's just pause it for a minute here. We'll take a quick listen to what the President said, particularly on our debt stock, and then we'll come back to continue with our conversation.
Okay.
As of the beginning of 2009, Ghana's total debt stock was 9.5 billion cedis. By the end of 2016, the debt stock has ballooned to 122 billion cedis. Ghana's debt stock now stands at 74% of GDP after all the previous denials to the contrary. Order! Honorable Mr. Speaker, more debt was accumulated by the previous government in the last 8 years than all other governments put together since independence. In fact, 92% of Ghana's total debt stock was incurred in the last 8 years under the previous government. The interest costs on this debt have also increased and will amount to an estimated 14.1 billion cedis in 2017. Mr. Speaker, the reality of the state of Ghana's public finances today are quite stark.
The realities are quite stark. So yes, just picking up from where we left off on the HIPC issue and our debt, the debt stock that we have to deal with. In addition, the president talked about the fact that our revenues, we're not doing well with our revenues, yet the bulk of the revenues goes to 3 main sectors. He talked about salaries and wages, interest payments, amortization, and statutory payments. Clearly, there's so much burden on the public purse, and yet we are going to still cut down on our taxes, go ahead with this very capital-intensive free SHS policy. So I believe it's justified when people begin to raise questions about...
But the same people are putting pressure on us, even when about 92...
But like you see, like what Priscilla said, perhaps, yes, you made those promises, but taking a look at exactly what you have with you, perhaps then you could modify. I believe Ghanaians would be...
You need to also analyze the bigger picture of the stakeholders' behavior. Even now, that about 97% of the MDGs are still occupied by appointees from the previous government. They are putting pressure on us to deliver. So if you are handling such stakeholders, you understand what I'm saying? It becomes very difficult. Look, practically, if it had been a developed country, the best thing we would have done as a capitalist who believes in adoption of expansionary fiscal policies, we would have still introduced taxes, try to moderate our spending, but that wouldn't give us short-term, medium-term, visible achievement or performance or delivery. But we live in a country that how many people understand this? Opposition will take undue advantage of that. A lot of people out there do not even understand it. Surprisingly,
but you would have done the same show. I'm not doing comparison. I'm talking about reality. Okay, who would have done that?
You would have done the situation. I will not argue with you. But what I'm saying, based on these things, we also want to balance power consolidation and then developmental projects. So we'll do our best to improvise and do something. We'll come out with something. I agree with you that we should have done ABC. We should have, if you look at the fuel tariffs or whatever, pressure is being put on us to remove all of them.
But it will be unfair for you to say it's because the MMDs are headed by opposition appointees.
I haven't said that.
No, that is what you said. They are headed by...
I'm saying that now most of the government agencies are still being occupied by appointees from the NDC.
And I'm
coming. And yet you're putting pressure on us to deliver. I'm saying that.
And you still don't have your men in office.
We call something embryonic stage or phase.
Right.
We are still in embryonic stage. So if you put pressure on us, you're not being realistic. So if even with this is how people are behaving, could we have said that then we will not reduce taxes? We will not do one this, one factory. We will not do one this, one dam.
We also heard about the special prosecutor. This is why it would have been important to categorize the debt to specific assets. When you say goods and services, it's too general. It includes me, Abena, Ama, all of us, and what we do and what goes into the kitty as a nation. You should have appropriated the exact debt stock to the assets that were used to were procured with these debt stock. And then your special prosecutor comes in. People can now ask for value for money. Then we know that some money is coming out of people's pockets to help you start some of these things.
I don't get you. We are combining special prosecutor.
Mr. Ma, you know this discussion could keep going on. Yes,
but I can
we have to wrap up. This
very
is all
soon
the
start
time.
smiling.
Very well.
The fact that you have confidence in our government.
Very well. Mr. Alma does promise that we'll be very soon smiling at what the nation has, what the government has to offer this nation. We do hope so, and we're looking forward to that. It has been an interesting discussion on Big Bang One, talking or looking at it from the MPP's perspective on the State of Nations Address address given by the president. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. This is Captured by Women, and we're on Big Bang 2. On Big Bang 2, we are taking a look at the State of the Nation's address, but this time we're looking at it with an NDC representative. And we have with us here the Honorable Fifi Kwete. He's a man of many titles. I'm trying to go through everything here. He's currently the MP for Ketu South and the ranking member of Trade and Industry in Parliament. He was former Minister of Agric, also former Minister of Transport, and former Deputy Minister of Finance. So indeed, we are delighted to have you in our midst because you're going to help us do justice to the State of the Nation address. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Welcome,
sir.
Yes, great. So,
A bit intimidated, but
oh no, you realize very soon that we don't mind. Great. So let's just start off with your general impressions about the State of the Nation. We do know what the NDC has said in general, but would like to have it from you also.
Okay.
The general take on that.
okay. Let me first and foremost greet all your many viewers, and also to signal the year. It was a speech well delivered, I must say. I should think somehow when you have presidents who have also been former members of parliament, there's a certain camaraderie that naturally characterizes the delivery, and I think we saw exactly what we used to see also when President Mahama used to deliver, because he used to also be in the house, so somehow the banter is far more familiar to them. So we saw a bit of that also yesterday with President Akufo-Addo, which was very good. In terms of the delivery itself, our only disappointment as NDC was the fact that we thought, having finished the campaign, hard campaign as it was, the president would have used the first State of the Nation address to present a much more comprehensive picture of things as they are, as opposed to, let's say, presenting a one-sided view of things. We felt it was a bit one-sided. The president created the impression as though all he was inheriting was negativity. He presented a lot of the liabilities and hardly made references to assets, and we thought that clearly was not comprehensive enough. I mean, that is okay as a campaign person, but once you become President of the Republic, you're talking about State of the Nation. You wanted to give the country a fair view and let the country decide really where things are. That, I would say, generally was our major observation.
So what do you think was missing in there? What would you have loved to see that would have, in your opinion, perhaps been a balanced address, given that you're saying it was a bit partisan?
For instance, the president dwelt a bit on the huge debt, as he called it, huge debt of the country. And somehow the president failed to tell the country that the monies that actually were contracted have also been put into massive infrastructure for the country. So, for example, if the president mentioned, for example, that we borrowed almost $1 billion, for example, she have told the country that, yeah, this $1 billion that was borrowed has been used in the establishment of the infrastructure that was in the gas infrastructure in Atuabo, which gas infrastructure gives us ability not just to contribute massively to the energy situation, but also gives us a foundation that brings about transformation for the economy tomorrow.
Just to take you right where you're stopping, where the gas infrastructure is getting source of fuel from a place and it's still not being able to pay its debt, as in service itself, in terms of the capex that was used to put up the infrastructure. And on that score, I would extend the question to ask that if you say the president should have gone in detail, would it not bring the issue of the costing of the said infrastructure? So perhaps it's better that it was just a summary, because if he goes into it, okay, 24 million, example, went to Karos Gaivaro for the Dubai project or whatever, then the issue comes to, hey, is it 24 million? You give in the opportunity for the issue of the cost to come under debate, because if he says that, then he needs to go further detail to see if there was value for money, and I think that would be more partisan.
I was not expecting that the president would detail every single project and mention their costs. No. What I said generally was for the president to admit that a lot of investment has been done as far as the infrastructure of this country is concerned. So, for example, if you're talking about, let's assume you said the country has this amount of money borrowed, you also need to make an admission that a lot of the money was borrowed and put into infrastructure. That's just fair.
For
example, you mentioned that deficit of the country was high, I think it's fair to also acknowledge that the currency of the country for 2016 was relatively stable. In fact, far more stable than the situation was in 2008 when the president and his team exited, where the currency of the country was depreciated above 20%. This is less than 9% depreciation. So comparatively, some good ground has been achieved. If you mention, for example, that a huge debt has been accrued, you also need to be fair and tell the country that, but in terms of, for example, foreign reserves, I mean, we are looking at a minimum $5.4 billion of foreign reserves that actually has been left behind, compared to less than $2 billion that was available in 2000. So I'm saying fairness, comprehensive delivery. That's it. Allow the country
on the issue of the FX rate, and we really don't want to deviate because we have massive viewers who might not have the necessary understanding. You talk about in 2008 or so, we're looking at the rates. What the dollar was to CD is definitely not what it was in 2013, 14, 15, albeit it was stable throughout 2015. And when you say there's so much reserve, would that not bring to question where the rate is today? Because we know it's demand and supply. Indeed, are we liquid in dollars so much, and why would dollar be hitting 4.4, 4.5, thereabouts?
$5.4 billion in 2016 is $5.4 billion. Because the value of dollar internationally is what it is. So if you have $5.4 billion in 2016, it's massive. If you had less than $2 billion in 2008, it's absolutely fragile. So that actually is what it is. It's not like the CD. It's not like the CD that you said is gone over a period that is been, let's say, eroded because of inflation and because of changes in prices. The dollar is actually internationally relatively stable. That's why it's the currency of choice for the world. So if you have $5.4 billion as your foreign reserves, that's absolutely good.
Is it comparative? Is the quantum comparative to our debt stock? If we have 5.4 billion in reserve and we are, say, 100 and something in terms of our debt stock, is it comparative? We say we had $2 billion in 2008. Is that comparative to our level of borrowing, which is some 9 billion Ghana cedi in 2008? Is there any relative?
You know, Kwame Nkrumah back in the day thought something, and it's unfortunate that somehow we are refusing to heed. Nkrumah said, why will you refer to Akosombo Dam as a loan? It's an investment. Why will you talk about the Tema Harbor as a debt? It's an investment. It's important for this country to move away from these discourse, which is simply aiming at scoring political points, into a discourse where you emphasize investment rather than making appear.
Isn't it a case of nomenclature? It's just names.
It's not. Oftentimes people try to make it look as if debt per se is a problem. It's not.
Exactly,
whether
in
corporate life
and
or
how your
national
ability
life,
to pay back, those are
in
the key
corporate
things.
life or national life, debt per se is not a problem. So to say that, you have this debt, as if that is a problem, no.
Totally not. We do appreciate that.
If I went to borrow money and I use the money possibly to maybe come and pay my worker's salary, that's a problem. If I use it to maybe pay anything which is consumable, that's a problem.
But isn't it an issue that we are looking at our ability to pay back? That is the main issue. It's not about the fact that you went to borrow to invest in a project that, of course, will be beneficial to the people at the end of the day. You're looking at our ability to pay back, and that's why we look at our GDP to debt ratio, which currently is hitting the roof.
That's why the ability to pay back is largely also influenced by what it is you are investing your money into.
Exactly.
You understand? Now, so for example, if I made an investment, let's say, in last year, as I mentioned, gas infrastructure, which gas infrastructure plays a key role as far as building a foundation for economic transformation is concerned. Just like, for example, Akosombo Dam had done for us and many other infrastructure that we had in the past. That ability to pay has been largely enhanced because of the what you call critical nature of the infrastructure in which I'm putting in. So it's not that. It becomes an investment for the country. But for political purposes, I mean, people might choose to create a certain scenario as if that's the end of the world. It's an apocalypse that is destroying Ghana. But deep down, For example, let me give you one example. MPP spoke a lot, the president spoke a lot yesterday. They somehow conveniently forgot to tell the country that as a result of a prudent measure put in place by NDC government, this year, 2017, the president does not have to struggle to retire the 2007 Eurobond money because we have put in place a sinking fund to ensure that he can take care of that. The president conveniently forgot to tell the country that an infrastructure fund had been put in place, which if his government is able to continue, gives this country ability to leverage huge finances in order to be able to do
Shouldn't
more.
we expect that in the budget? Because those are where the allocations are going to go to.
But the thing is this, when you decide to use SONA, okay, to create what you call a situation as if the country has only liabilities, it's only fair.
Very well,
you
but
absolutely balance
the president
that by
did
talking about
say
the assets as
something
well.
concerning procurement. We'll take a quick listen and then come back to speak on it.
Which will also explore the benefits of listing VRA and Gridco on the stock exchange. Mr. Speaker, order. Mr. Speaker, my government will enforce the procurement law. We will insist on open and competitive bidding for power capacity procurement. Order. This will not only reduce the cost of power projects and ensure value for money, but will also address the problem of unplanned procurement. Government will encourage increased private sector investment in utility-scale solar and wind energy projects, as well as accelerate the development of mini-grid solutions in off-grid and island communities for lighting, irrigation, and other economic activities. We will consequently review the Renewable Energy Act to provide further incentives to attract the private sector to invest.
So we did hear the president give a take on procurement and that they were going to streamline or put some processes in check so that sole sourcing, as I should say, was a thing in the previous government will not be seen in this current government. What's your take on that?
I think it's important to clarify that sole sourcing was not a monopoly at all in the previous government. Sole sourcing had been a practice that had been in this country. It used to be in the 8 years NPP was in power. Some of it was in the last 8 years as well. And again, to create the impression as if almost a majority of procurement that was done in the 8 years NDC was in power was all through sole sourcing is not true at all. The records are there to show that yes, it's true that some sole sourcing was done, but it was by no means what you call an overwhelming majority. But it would be good.
But I guess that comes because most of the ones that were sole sourced were those that brought issues to limelight for us to discuss.
I agree. It will be good. If the president is able to, as it were, walk the talk. Oftentimes the thing is that because it's really his first State of the Nation address, these are mostly what you call declaration of intent. So it might be too early for us to basically prejudge. Let's give it a and see exactly how it goes. And after 1 year, we'll be able to assess.
The 7 billion came up again. Initially with the transition team, they said that 7 billion was missing, and now the 7 billion is mentioned again. That we have arrears and outstanding payments, even though we have a very public financial management system. That means it probably was circumvented, And so, how do you answer to that?
There again, I would say that maybe the president needs to hasten a little slowly, because you will recall that the first person to mention this was the vice president. And the vice president actually declared categorically that the 7 billion was missing. Yesterday, the president didn't say it was missing. No, he actually used another terminology for it. From our point of view, we know that it's neither missing, neither was it any way, as it were, misappropriated. We are using a new, what you call accounting software that absolutely goes, it defines things differently. And we are sure that as and when they sit down with the technical people, they will be able to know that this absolutely has nothing to do with an impropriety that has been done. These are what you call commitment that clearly exists, commitment that the country knew about, were properly accounted for.
But
so
is it expenditure over the budget? That was because
you see, if you listen to the explanation we provided when this issue came up properly, what we said was that in the past we did not always take into account subsequent payments that need to be made. For example, if you have a project that is going to take 4 years to be done, in the past, all you did was to focus on the immediate payment that you need to go, and then you account for that. Currently, what we are doing through the accounting system is to take into consideration all the streams of expenditure that need to be done over the lifetime of that project, if it's going to take 4 years. And those are the things that are being, as it were, put within this accounting system. We are saying that the MPP is too much a bit in the campaign mode. They need to make a quick transition away from the campaign mode in order to be able to tell the country, give the country a much more comprehensive picture, instead of thinking that somehow the more you are able to create a semblance of wrong things being done, the more that's going to somehow keep you in power. The determination as to whether they will remain in power after 4 years is not going to be on account of some of these obvious exaggerations. It's going to be on delivering promises.
Yes,
okay?
we live to see. They have 4 years within which to do that. But you have
promises.
served in very important portfolios in the past government: transport, agriculture, finance, very key. Now, listening to the president deliver this, well, you've given us an impression of what you think about it, but clearly you have a certain expectation moving forward. What is your takeaway from this whole address that the president gave?
I think the president was candid when he explained that 3 budget lines are literally consuming all. When he said 99 plus percent is absolutely taken by public sector wage, interest payment, and also statutory payment. He's right about that. And that for me indicated a reality check. Because I'm like, if he had taken time to actually know these rigidities, some of the promises that he was making on the campaign platform, you actually would have been much more hesitant and moderate about them. We, sometime 2013, 2014, were dealing with rigidities that absolutely took these 3 together to in the region of a 115, 120%, which meant that even before you start, you already had over exceeded the revenues that are available, and you literally have to borrow from Bank of Ghana to make up for the 3. He's lucky that it's just 99. We were dealing with 115% at a certain stage. The point is this: being a reality check, I'm hoping that also is going to guide both him and his team, together with the finance and all, in terms of knowing what it is that they really can do. Because there are things that you spoke about. But in the light of the reality you are seeing today, you need to come to terms whether you really want to go this path. Because some of it, if it persists, it's going to be a pretty precipitous path down. But he's in the saddle, and I wish him well.
Unfortunately, we need to bring the conversation to an end here.
It's a pleasure.
This is all the time we have for this segment. But thank you so much, Honorable Fifi Kwete, for your time and your perspectives into this issue. Viewers, this is where we wrap up the whole show. Indeed, it's been, as usual, exciting on the show. We've been looking at the State of the Nation's address that was delivered by the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, on Tuesday, the 21st of February. We had the perspective of the NPP, of course, and we've had our time with Mr. Fifi Kwete representing the NDC. We'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, do have yourselves a very good weekend and a very productive week. My name is Abna Tebi. I've done this with my co-presenters, Priscilla, Susan, and Nanama. Bye-bye.